We were learning to sail, and we were 4 people and an instructor on one boat. And Michael, you nearly killed me with a bow at some point. It came right over my head.
That was actually Jamie. I was at the front. Yeah, I nearly got hit as well. Yeah. Say.
Jamie. Yeah, you should have known.
Meet Palle Bo, a digital nomad from Denmark on an epic journey around the world. This is the Radio Vagabond podcast.
This chat is one that we've been trying to set up for a long time. In Rotterdam, when we met in London, and even in Berlin, we were trying to carve in some time to do this, but it never panned out. And now we're here in beautiful Antigua, and we have not all the time in the world, but we managed to find half an hour. This is recorded on my balcony in the Veranda Resort and Spa in Antigua in May 2019, overlooking a beautiful blue bay with birds in the background. I'm here with the 2 founders of Traverse Events.
I'm Paul Dow, and I'm one half of Traverse, you could say, and I'm also a blogger, but I'm kind of the blogging side of Traverse, essentially. That's about it, really.
I'm Michael Ball. I'm also one of the co-founders of Traverse. Yeah, we're out in Antigua running an event for the influencers at the moment.
Yeah, and you do different things in Traverse. You do different events over the year. Could you just highlight what it is that you do of events?
Yes, we do a few events and campaigns. So most of our events are kind of based around a conference idea. So we have Traverse 19 coming up, so that changes each year, obviously 19, 20, 21. And that's our biggest conference. There's around 400 content creators come. There's podcasters, YouTubers, Instagrammers, bloggers, and we run about 100 different sessions over the course of a week, with the conference taking 2 days.
Is it 100?
It's around 100, yeah. Wow. So there's about 60 seminar sessions over the conference weekend and about 40 midweek experiences as well. So probably about 65 or 70 classes, and then some other sessions as well with wellness and experiences.
This episode is made possible by the Antigua and Barbuda Tourism Authority and Elite Island Resorts, and produced by radioguru.co.uk. Traverse Events are doing different events. The main one has been Traverse. They've done it in London, in Rotterdam, and next week in Italy. And this year it had a sister. And there's another one in the making later here in 2019.
Yeah, Keyframe is our new kind of video conference about learning the skills of video, so editing, shooting video, could be mobile video, all kinds of video basically. And it kind of came around because we had a couple of sessions at Traverse around video usually, and we kind of realised you need to really go deep on video because there's so much to learn, you can't fit it into an hour. So it was kind of the prime candidate to pick that out and expand on that and have a bigger conference all about video.
But is it still for the travel community?
Not really. We always try to expand outside the travel community. I think we have a hint of travel, but we do try to bring in anyone who's interested in video, essentially, or learning to create video, because I think we never really want to narrow ourselves down in terms of niches, because content creation, it's content creation at the end of the day, and it could be video, it could be blogging, it could be photography. I don't think it necessarily needs to be a niche thing.
Yeah. And then there's this third thing coming up for the first time this year in September in London?
Yep, so our brand new event called Borderless Live. And that will be a proper festival of all things to do with content and influence. And we're partnering with the Reed Exhibitions, so the team behind the World Travel Market events, so some of the biggest travel industry exhibitions around the world. And again, this one will have a kind of a hint of travel or a travel theme, but it's very much for all content creators, but also people who want to get into it, people who are thinking about maybe trying to make their channels more of a career, or just to see what it's all about.
We're at a mini conference in Antigua, here in the Caribbean, arranged by Traverse Events. And they've done a similar event last year, right here, and also one in Menorca.
Yeah, so this is what we call one of our mini conferences. So we call them the elite mini conferences. So it's a slightly higher, I would say, I don't want to say higher level, but a more experienced level of content creator that comes along. And it's all done just on invite only. And we have about 35 creators from all over the world who are in Antigua this week. And we're creating content all over the island, shooting video, obviously doing podcasts like this one, writing, photography. But then there's also a whole bunch of different classes and experiences that are thrown in as well. So some of them to help people with creating their content, such as doing sailing, or snorkeling, but then we've also got some classes which are more about the technical side. So we've done travel, telling a travel story, Lightroom editing, other things like that.
And actually, you mentioned sailing, and we were learning to sail, and we were 4 people and an instructor on one boat, and Michael, you nearly killed me with a bow at some point. It came right over my head.
That was actually Jamie. I was at the front. Yeah, I nearly got hit as well. That one. Yeah. So.
Jamie. Yeah, you should have known. But what is your background for? Are you really into the travel thing? Or I know that you, Paul, are location independent right now. But where does that whole connection to the travel influence world come from?
I guess in 2006, I think it was, I went traveling on a big trip, like around the world for like 2 years, and never came back for 2 years. So I started a blog and kind of knew the community online from blogging, and essentially it started to get more kind of you meet in real life. So I went to a lot of those events. I met Michael, who was organising some events for that kind of stuff. And we just decided to do a conference, and it kind of started from there in 2013.
You didn't know each other from before that. You just met in that world and decided to work together.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I was the blogger going to these events, and Michael was essentially organising some of the meetups at the time.
When we come back in a minute, I'll talk more to Paul Dow and Michael Ball about where the travel content creator business is going. Yeah, that is a business. We'll take a look in the crystal ball and see what's ahead in the future, and also talk a little bit about Michael's true passion, Tottenham Football Club. To you American listeners, we're talking soccer. And that's a big deal when you're a Tottenham season card holder and your team just qualified for the UEFA Champions League finals.
Yeah, it's very important.
You should have seen this guy's face a few days ago. He was smiling from ear to ear when Tottenham won the semi-final.
Yeah, I actually just watched the highlights again before I came over as well. So,
and I bet that's not the last time.
No, definitely not, no.
Produced by radioguru.co.uk, this is The Radio Vagabond. My name is Palabo. Stay with us. In a recent episode, I asked you guys to send me an email telling me where you are and what you're doing while you're listening to The Radio Vagabond. And I've received so many wonderful emails that I'll try to share one by one here on the show. One of the emails I got was from Oskan from Turkey. Hi Palle, my name is Oskan and I'm from Istanbul, Turkey. I'm listening to your journey while I'm working right now, and let me tell you that it makes my work more efficient. I follow your podcast on Spotify, and I think I've been following you from around your 50th episode. I love traveling too, and I've only traveled to 26 countries. It's nothing when considering you. I feel like I'm wandering around with you when I listen to your podcast, and it somehow satisfies my traveling urge a bit. So I have one question for you. When will you visit Turkey? Keep up your amazing work. Your podcast is one of my favorites. I really love it. Love from Turkey, Oskan. Thank you so much for your email, Oskan. And sorry for probably mispronouncing your name. As you know, I've already sent an email back to you when I got this a few weeks ago saying I've been to Turkey but not to Istanbul yet. I've heard so much great stuff about your city and it's very high on my bucket list. So hopefully I'll get to meet you someday and then you can teach me how to pronounce your name and maybe show me a little bit around your great city someday. If you also want to drop me a line and tell me where you are and what you're doing right now, please use this special email address, listener@theradiovagabond.com. You can also send me a voice message through WhatsApp. That would be great because then I could share this sound bit right here on the podcast. The number for that is +45 40 105 105. Now, back to Paul and Michael from Traverse. I'm here with two guys with the finger on the pulse, so we have to talk about the travel, blogging, influencer, content creator business, if you will, because that is what it is now, a business. I've only been a travel content creator for around 3 years, but in that time, I've already seen the business changing a lot.
Yeah, it's definitely changing a lot. I think that if you use the word influencer, it's becoming a lot more of a well-known kind of job, and that leads to a lot more people trying to do it. Predominantly, we see that on Instagram, which isn't necessarily the best way to go, because that's where the kind of headlines come from. But it is definitely leading to a lot of people doing a much better job and really raising their game. And we're finding now that a lot more brands and destinations, such as Antigua and Elite Island Resorts, where we are at the moment, are open to running larger campaigns and putting more spend into that. So there are a lot more opportunities, but there's also a lot more people.
But I feel that the industry is still a teenager and not fully grown up yet.
Definitely. I mean, it's still, it's only 22, 23 years since the very first blog was posted. Blog was published, maybe 23 years. And the industry is certainly new, and there's certainly a lot of brands and destinations and people working as content creators who are still getting to grips with it and figuring out what exactly they want to do and what works for them. And luckily, that's where we come in at Traverse, because it's those brands and destinations that ask us to help put together campaigns. So that's where we essentially exist, because it's a relatively new industry and because we're just that tiny bit ahead of where a few other people are, and it's that tiny bit that helps to create things like this where we are now.
And Paul, I mentioned that you're location independent now. You're traveling more and don't work out of the London office every single day.
Yeah, it's true. Trying to get my distance away from Michael, to be honest. I've always wanted to travel more, I guess. Ever since I did the 2 years, you kind of get that kind of bug and you can't really get rid of it. So I always had a long-term plan to kind of sort myself out financially in London and stuff, and then leave and do a bit more slow travel. So that's what we're trying to do at the moment. But the first 5 months has been pretty hectic, really. So it'd be good to kind of go a bit slower and live in places for a few months here and there, I think.
Somebody told me that even though you can work anywhere now, you spend more time in the UK in the last year.
Yeah, I think I had a leaving party, and then 4 months later I was back in London. So they're a bit.
What are you still here for?
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it can't be helped. So many of my friends are getting married, so I had to come back for a little bit.
Yeah. Is that something you plan to do over the next many years?
I think we just see how it goes. I mean, everyone's they think it's a big deal, but it's you just go and see how it goes, and if you don't like it, then come back, or if you love it, then carry on, or it's not working, you change something, right? It's just try it. It's what's the problem at the end of the day?
At the time we were here in Antigua, we were a group of football fans following the Champions League semi-finals between Ajax Amsterdam and Tottenham. Apart from me, it was Travel Tom, that was on last week's episode, and Michael. Tom is from the Netherlands, and even though he's not from Amsterdam, he was rooting for Ajax. And Michael, he's a Tottenham season card holder, and he's been a huge fan of Tottenham since he was a kid. I only followed the first half of the game, where even Michael was congratulating Tom. He could see that it was all over for his team. And then I realized the next day that Tottenham turned it around in an insane second half that I didn't watch. So I was surprised to see Michael smiling from ear to ear the next day. Yes, Michael is a huge Tottenham fan, so Paul might be traveling more, but Michael needs to stay close to his team.
Yeah, it's very important. Yeah.
You should have seen this guy's face a few days ago. He was smiling from ear to ear when Tottenham won the semi-final.
Yeah, I actually just watched the highlights again before I came over as well. So,
And I bet that's not the last time.
no, definitely not. No, full match on record when I get home. No, I'm still based in London at the moment. My plan, ideally in the next few years, is to travel a little bit more. But I love these trips, and when I've travelled in the past, I've always liked doing it in a month or so at a time, rather than being permanently away. I've really good friends and family back home that I'm really close to. So yeah, hopefully I'd like to kind of spend around 5-6 months of the year away, but not in one go. So 3 weeks here, 2 weeks there. So we'll see how that develops. I'm lucky enough that in my job with Traverse, I get to do a lot of travel through work. So I don't feel like I'm being stuck in London all the time. This is, I don't know, probably my 10th trip this year, maybe a bit more. Off to Belgium 2 days after getting back, and then off to Italy for 2 weeks, 2 weeks after that, and then a couple of weeks in London. And I find that when you're travelling quite a lot, especially when it's short haul travel for just a weekend or so, so much of that time is spent in airports that being home and being back in your own home with your friends and family, it can be really nice for a month or so. So I don't mind it. Yeah.
No. And that definitely the nomadic lifestyle is not for everybody. It's most people they need or they like to have a home base.
Yeah, I mean, truthfully, I'm not actually that fussed about the home base. As long as I've got a bit of my own space, I wouldn't want to do hostels permanently for like a year or so. As long as I've got my own space, that can be just a room with a bit of Wi-Fi. But it's more kind of the home comforts of my friends and family, and also just not really having to stress about actually pack up and move and do your washing and all that sort of stuff.
If you're one of those people that have shared this podcast on social media, or maybe just told a friend out there in real life, I just want to say thank you so much. The main event of the year for Traverse is coming up in Trentino in Italy in a week's time. I asked Paul and Michael to describe what makes their conference different.
There's quite a few differences. One of the main ones is we really try and make it more festively than conference. We don't use kind of stuffy hotel rooms, your generic like hotel conference centres where you have the white rooms and a rows of chairs. The style of talks is also quite different. We try and go for small workshops rather than big we actually don't do any keynotes. We don't have headline speakers. And then we also add in all of the social side around it. So for the 4 days before the conference, we run midweek experiences, which are all local. Some of them are classes that we can't do in the conference. So shooting epic photography, we've got photo and video walks, some like yoga and wellness. But there's also chances for people to go and visit vineyards and have lovely Italian evenings of pizza, going stargazing. We're taking a helicopter over Lake Garda. So all these lovely things before the conference. So really it feels like a festivally event where everyone gets together for a while. And I think also we tend to do a little bit more research into the type of lineup and speakers and sessions than some other conferences. We don't go for names, we go for content quality. And hopefully that shows through by the talks we've got. There's a huge different selection of sessions.
And I noticed you have some high-class speakers. There's one about podcasting, I know. So
Susan Schwartz, I think you're talking about. Yeah. No, we've got a few podcasting sessions this year, so we're doing 2. Obviously, yourself's doing one, and Susan Schwartz from Lush Life Manual, a Lush Life podcast. She's got so many channels. I try and remember which one is a podcast. So there's those 2 podcasts. We're going to have a few more in the end, but we thought we try and just do a few sessions of everything, and then if something gets enough interest, we'll run a bit more of a dedicated event, like we did with Keyframe.
And a few words more about Borderless Life. That's your newest baby. I asked you the other night, should I come to that? And you just said one word, yes. No need to discuss about that, but please tell me, why should I come to that, and why should people come to this?
Well, firstly, yeah, you said it is the new baby, but the chances are it'll be a large baby. So we're hoping it's a bigger scale event to what we've done before. I guess one of the reasons I would say to everyone to come along is if you're already in the industry as a content creator or in the travel industry or in digital marketing, then this will be an event like no other that's out there at the moment. It's a brand new concept. It's one we've been looking to do for quite a few years, where it really is a cross between a festival, an exhibition and a conference. So we've got a load of inspiring talks with these 2 stages which will be on like the main floor. We've got the exhibition area, loads of brands and destinations who are showing off what they do, but also there's interactive elements and all the fun conference freebies, and they come with it. And then of course there's food and drinks and bars and place to eat. And then outside of the outside of the exhibition floors, there's 2 of them, we have a couple of conference rooms where we're going to be holding some fantastic speed networking sessions, which for the first time at any conference is being divided based on the type of work people are looking for. So one of the issues a lot of these speed networking events have is that brands and influencers, brands and creators, they're always looking for something different. One wants maybe to look at doing a long-term ambassadorship, and the other person wants to give someone a complimentary hotel stay. So we're dividing up into 3, and we're saying, if you're looking for this sort of stuff, this is one to go to. And we're saying that to both the influencers and creators. So hopefully a much more efficient speed networking program. And then there's also some higher level content seminars and workshops, and that will be a little bit more like what we do at Traverse. There'll be classes probably on topics such as SEO, the more businessy side of YouTube, hopefully podcasting as well, if we can convince you to do one. And other talks like that. And it'll be a load of fun. There'll be after parties on both days of the event. I should say it's the 6th and 7th of September. Yeah. So it's over a Friday and a Saturday. And we decided to do that because we didn't want to make it so people who had full-time jobs had to take loads of time off work. So those people, if they don't want to, they can just come on the Saturday. But also, if people are full-time influencers, that's their job, they maybe don't want to use all of their weekend. So we thought we'd do that, and it's in one of my favourite venues anywhere, the Tobacco Dock in Wapping in East London, which is a really lovely space. So yeah, really excited.
Yeah. And so the way I hear it is that this is a place where you get to dive deeper.
Yeah. What we try and do with our events, with Traverse 19 and with Borderless, is saying that if you come with something in mind that you want to do, this is the place you can do it. When it's related to content creating. So for Traverse 19, for instance, if what you want to learn about is video, if you want to improve your video, then there'll be a session at every single point over the 2 days, which is based around video. It might be the business of YouTube, how to monetize and be more efficient, how to create short form video for social, the editing and the analytics. And there'll be loads of these different things on. If what you want to do is come to learn a little bit more about the kind of positive wellness side of being a content creator, then we make sure we've got those sorts of sessions. Business psychology, we have like a cognitive hypnotherapy session. We've got people talking about how to organize themselves better. So it's very much the same concept of making sure we have these different opportunities at Borderless Live. So if you want to come and let's say you don't have a channel and you're thinking in the next year I want to launch a channel, I don't know what it is yet, you'll be able to go to enough talks and seminars and meet enough people. Face-to-face meetings are so important to then really make a good decision over what you want to do and whether you want to do it. We're also saying that when in schools at the moment, so when people are talking about the jobs that they want to do when they're kids, influencer, still using that word there, but influencer is coming out pretty much at the top, along with doctor and pilot. And that's very interesting that that's become a career that people are thinking about, but there still aren't really any places people can go to learn about the realities of doing that as a job, because it's not all sitting on a balcony in Antigua. There's a lot of other work that goes into it. Right now it's sitting on a balcony in Antigua, but that's because we put hard work in all year to make these things happen. So we want to make it the event that mums and dads can also bring their kids and say, look, you can meet people, see what the reality is, because they can do it for every other job. They can go to work experience days at architecture firms, or they can have people come into the school and talk about what it's like to go through medical school. But there's nothing for this. There's no barriers to entry. There's no career progression. People start their channel and then they're doing it. And I think really informing people, it can be quite a lonely and difficult job. And I think people need to know what it takes to go into it. And so we're hoping to also bring a lot of good to this and have some good parties.
Now I can feel I need to. So yeah, guys, I'm so glad that we finally did this, and see you in Italy and hopefully in London as well. That was the talk I had with Paul Dow and Michael Ball.
Thanks very much.
I hope you enjoyed it just as much as I did talking to them. All the links are in the show notes of this episode and on theradiovagabond.com. The Radio Vagabond is produced by my production company, radioguru.co.uk. You know, podcast production is one of the things I do in my company. In fact, I just need to brag a little bit. Last Friday, we won the most prestigious Danish advertising award, Creative Circle Awards, together with Lego Agency and Merrill Studio for Best Advertising and Digital Advertising, Digital Content-Driven Campaigns. Whew. Yeah, that is the name of the category. Quite a mouthful. And we won it for Lego Technique Build for Real. My part of the project was producing the Lego Technique podcast that you can find wherever you find your podcast. I'm quite proud of having been a part of that project. This episode of the Radio Vagabond in Antigua was made possible by the Antigua and Barbuda Tourism Authority and Elite Island Resorts. I know that I promised you an episode here from Antigua about this Caribbean paradise a few days ago, but I have so many recordings that I'm sorting out and editing, and I want to make it great, so I didn't want to rush it. You'll get it as soon as it's done. And I have a feeling there's going to be more than one episode from here. I hope that you feel it's worth the wait. But I feel quite confident that I can promise you another great interview a week from now, next Friday. And that's going to be with the amazing Adventurous Kate, one of the world's biggest travel bloggers by a mile. And I'm so looking forward to sharing that. My name is Palle Bo. See ya.